Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. There is a question that seems simple at first, but the more we think about it, the more unsettling it becomes. If all the disasters of humankind were once locked inside a box, why was hope the last thing left behind? Is hope a gift of salvation, or is it also the most subtle form of punishment? In Greek mythology, Pandora's box is often told as the origin of suffering, disease, war, and death. But beneath that story lies far more than a warning about curiosity. It is an ancient tragedy about power, divine revenge, the fragility of human beings, and a terrifying secret. Sometimes, the very thing that helps us keep living is also the thing that prevents us from ever escaping suffering. The story does not begin with Pandora, but with fire. Before the box was opened, the world of humankind was still a cold and fragile place, living beneath the shadow of the gods on Mount Olympus. Humans had bodies, breath, and life, but they did not yet possess the power to shape their own fate. Then Prometheus, the wise and rebellious Titan, committed an unforgivable act. He stole fire from the gods and gave it to humanity. That fire was not merely warmth or light. It was knowledge, craft, civilization, the ability to cook food, forge metal, build cities, create laws, and dream of a world where humankind no longer had to bow completely before the divine. From that moment on, humans were no longer small creatures trembling helplessly in the darkness. They began to look into the night and believe they could conquer it. But in the world of ancient Greece, any gift that crosses the boundary must come with a price. Zeus, king of the gods, was not only enraged because Prometheus had stolen fire. He was furious because the order of the universe had been challenged. With fire, humans could learn, create, resist, and dream. That was dangerous to any absolute power. So Zeus did not punish humankind with a thunderbolt striking them down at once. He chose a punishment far more refined, far more beautiful, and far more terrifying. He ordered the creation of a being so perfect that no one would suspect her, a gift wrapped in beauty, a disaster wearing a seductive face. Her name was Pandora. Pandora was not born like ordinary human beings. She was crafted as a masterpiece of the gods, and each deity gave her a gift. Hephaestus shaped her body from clay, creating a form that was soft, living, and almost flawless. Athena gave her skill in weaving, grace, and refinement. Aphrodite gave her a beauty capable of stirring the heart. Hermes placed within her cleverness, sweet speech, and perhaps even a trace of deception. And so she was named Pandora, meaning the one who received all gifts. But the tragedy lies in this: she was not only the receiver of gifts, she herself was also a gift. A gift sent by Zeus to the world of men, like a trap decorated with light. When Pandora was given to Epimetheus, the brother of Prometheus, the story entered a deeper layer of tragedy. Prometheus was the one who saw ahead, the one who knew to distrust gifts from the gods. He had warned his brother not to accept anything from Zeus. But Epimetheus was his opposite. He only understood after everything had already happened. Before Pandora's beauty, before the perfection the gods had woven around her, the warning became weak. And this is one of the darkest messages of the myth. Humans are not destroyed only by ignorance. Sometimes they are destroyed because they want to believe that something beautiful before their eyes cannot possibly be a disaster. Epimetheus accepted Pandora into his life, and with her came a great jar, a mysterious vessel later retold as Pandora's box. The box, or more accurately in many ancient versions, the Great Jar, is not merely an object. It is a symbol of the boundary. Inside it are things that should not be released. Outside, it is a human world, still innocent of the true nature of suffering. The command not to open the vessel creates a familiar paradox in mythology. The forbidden always becomes the most powerful attraction. A prohibition does not kill curiosity. It makes curiosity sacred, dangerous, and irresistible. Pandora stood before the box the way humanity stands before every great secret of the universe. She did not merely want to know what was inside. She was drawn toward the deeper question, why am I not allowed to know? And that very question is what shaped the history of humankind. When Pandora opened the lid, the world changed forever. From within, disasters flew out like an invisible storm. Disease entered the human body. Old age crept into the bones. Labor weighed down human hands. Envy, deception, war, hunger, sorrow, and death scattered across the earth. From then on, humanity no longer lived in an innocent world. People had to wake with the fear of losing those they loved, had to work against hunger and cold, had to watch their bodies weaken with time, had to learn how to survive among desire and betrayal. This image is not as loud as a battle between gods, but it is far more terrifying, because it does not end in a single day. It begins an age that every generation after would inherit. But just as all the disasters had escaped, Pandora quickly shut the lid. And inside, only one thing remained before it could fly away: hope. This is the moment that has allowed the myth of Pandora to live on for thousands of years. If hope is something good, why was it locked together with disease, suffering, and death? If it is a gift of salvation, why did Zeus place it inside the same vessel meant to punish humanity? And if hope did not escape, do humans truly possess it at all? That question transforms the story from a warning about curiosity into a philosophical labyrinth. Hope is no longer the simple light at the end of the tunnel. It becomes something ambiguous, something that both supports human beings and forces them to keep walking through days they are not sure they can endure. There is one gentle interpretation. Hope was kept behind so that humanity would not collapse completely. When sickness comes, humans still hope for healing. When war destroys, they still hope for peace to return. When loss occurs, they still hope that one day the pain will soften. If every disaster had entered the world without hope, humankind might have been crushed from the very first moment. Hope, in this interpretation, is like a small ember left after the storm. It does not erase the darkness, but it allows the eyes to see a short stretch of road ahead. It does not make the world fair, but it keeps human beings from abandoning the thought that tomorrow might be different from today. But Greek mythology is rarely only gentle. At a deeper level, hope may be the most frightening part of the punishment. Because hope makes humans endure longer. A person who is completely hopeless may stop expecting, stop waiting, stop being tortured by the future. But a person who still has hope will continue looking forward, continue believing that present suffering might one day be repaid, that some door might open, that the gods or fate might eventually change their minds. In this sense, hope is both medicine and chain. It comforts humans in the night, but also forces them onward in a world where disaster never truly disappears. The terrifying question is not whether humans have hope. The question is who placed hope there, and for what purpose. In this light, Pandora is no longer simply the woman who brought disaster, as many simplified versions of the story have portrayed her. She is a far more tragic figure. She was created by power, given beauty, intelligence, and curiosity, then placed at the center of a divine plan of revenge. If she opened the box, she would be blamed as the cause of suffering. If she did not open it, she would still remain a tool in the hands of the gods. Pandora's tragedy is the tragedy of those whom history turns into symbols for mistakes they did not fully create. She did not invent disease. She did not create war. She was only the door designed to open. And behind that door stood the anger of Zeus toward a humanity that had just received the fire of knowledge. This is what makes the story of Pandora feel so close to modern fears. Every age has its own box. When humans unlocked nuclear energy, they also opened both the power to illuminate cities and the power to burn the world. When humans entered the age of artificial intelligence, they touched a new box: knowledge, creativity, speed, and power. But with it came the fear of losing control, manipulation, information warfare, and the transformation of labor itself. When a civilization cuts down forests, digs deep into the earth, edits genes, explores space, or creates technologies far beyond its existing ethics, Pandora's question returns. Not every box should remain locked forever, but once it is opened, no one can pretend that the things released will obediently return inside. Psychologically, Pandora's box also resembles the unconscious part of the human mind. Each of us carries a box within ourselves, a place where fear, painful memory, buried desire, envy, shame, anger, and questions we dare not face are kept hidden. We can live for many years by keeping that lid tightly shut, telling ourselves that everything is fine. But one day, through a crisis, a loss, a sentence, a betrayal, the box opens. What was hidden rises to the surface, and we panic because we realize the darkness was never somewhere far away. It was always inside us. And strangely, after all of it, what remains is still hope. The hope that we can understand ourselves, heal, and refuse to be ruled by the past forever. This is why the myth of Pandora remains so powerful in fantasy culture, film, comics, and games. It creates an almost immortal motif: a forbidden object, an ancient secret, a broken seal, a released power, and a hero who must live with the consequences. From cursed chests and sealed relics to gates leading into hell and ancient weapons awakened after thousands of years, the shadow of Pandora is everywhere. But what makes this motif compelling is not disaster alone. It is compelling because it asks us, if we knew the consequences in advance, would humanity stop its hand? Or is it in human nature to open the box, to look into the secret, to pay the price for knowledge, even when that knowledge causes the world to lose its innocence forever? Zeus in this story is not merely an angry god. He represents power that wants to control the boundaries of knowledge. Prometheus represents creative rebellion, the belief that humans deserve light. Pandora stands between these two forces, both gift and wound. Humanity inherits both the fire and the curse. This is a deeply tragic structure. The very thing that helps humans rise also forces them to pay a price. Without fire, humans might have remained weak forever. With fire, humans entered civilization, but civilization also opened the road to war, ambition, inequality, and destruction on a greater scale. Pandora does not deny the value of knowledge. She reminds us that knowledge never comes alone. It always carries responsibility. And so we return to hope. In a world filled with disaster, hope is not always a radiant light. Sometimes it is only a faint breath inside the chest. A mother hopes her child will survive sickness. A soldier hopes dawn will come before fear devours him. An exile hopes to return home. A civilization hopes that after all its mistakes, it can still learn not to destroy itself. Hope does not erase reality. It does not turn pain into a fairy tale. but it creates a small distance between human beings and the abyss. Within that distance, morality, courage, love, and choice can still exist. Perhaps that is why hope is the last thing left behind. Not because it is the weakest, but because it is the most enduring. Disease can weaken the body. War can destroy cities. Death can end a life. But hope does not need immediate victory in order to survive. It needs only a possibility, no matter how small, almost unreasonable. A tomorrow, another path, a hand reaching out, a forgiveness, a chance to repair what was broken. In mythology, the gods may be immortal, but it is mortal humans who need hope. Because only those who know they can lose everything understand the value of still continuing to expect something more. But the story of Pandora also warns us that hope must not become illusion. When hope is separated from action, it can become blind waiting. When hope is exploited by power, it can make people endure injustice under the promise that one day everything will be better. When hope does not walk with truth, it becomes a curtain-hiding catastrophe. Therefore, the most beautiful hope is not hope that denies disaster, but hope that dares to look directly at disaster. Mature hope does not say the world has no darkness. It says that even though the darkness is real, human beings can still light a fire, still learn from mistakes, still rise after the box has been opened. Seen this way, Pandora's box is not only about the moment suffering entered the world, it is about the moment humans truly became human. Before disaster, humanity merely existed. After disaster, humanity had to choose. To choose love even while knowing there will be loss. To choose building even while knowing every city may one day fall. To choose birth, creation, struggle, forgiveness, prayer, storytelling, and leaving a mark upon the earth despite the brevity of life. The gods may send curses, but they cannot fully decide how humans live with those curses. And perhaps that is the quietest rebellion of humankind. Pandora opened the box, but the story does not end with disaster. It continues in every civilization that rises from ruins, every song written after war, every child born into an imperfect world, every person who still dares to love despite knowing the heart can break. Hope remained not to make suffering disappear. Hope remained to remind us that suffering is not the final sentence. Perhaps Zeus intended it as a chain binding humanity to endurance. But somehow, humanity turned that chain into a bridge, a fragile bridge across the abyss between what has been lost and what may still be saved. And so, when we speak of Pandora's box, the most terrifying thing is not only the disasters that flew out. The most terrifying thing realizing that we are still living in the moment after the box was opened. Every day, humanity still faces disease, war, ambition, loneliness, technologies beyond control, and secrets we ourselves are not sure we should uncover. But every day, we also prove that hope is not dead. It may be small, contradictory, sometimes naive, sometimes painful, but it remains. And perhaps in a cold universe where the gods are not always merciful, hope is the last thing left, not because it was forgotten inside the box, but because it is the only thing humans can carry when everything else has shattered. Thank you for watching today's video. If the story of Pandora's box reminds you of another box in mythology, film, games, or even in our modern world, share your thoughts below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel as we continue exploring dark legends, epic worlds, ancient secrets, and the deepest questions about power, fear, tragedy, and human nature. I'll see you again in the next videos, where we will continue stepping into realms where light and darkness have never truly been separate.